Hello again, everybody. This is kind of a spur of the moment kind of thing. I just finished the yard work and was working on these Russians last night, and I went ahead and finished quite a bit actually in my demented sense of reality. I had finished the oilskin covered shakos and the uh, tunics, right? The coats, those are all finished. Um, Now, understand the tunics are underneath things like backpacks and straps and stuff like that, and all that still has to be done. And the facings have to be done as well. But that right there, remember, this is 175 miniatures, and 175 miniatures takes a while. So I'm putting that off to the side for now because I want to take a break from those Russians, which is good. I do a little bit on the Russians every day, um, focusing on like one color per day. And then after about a week or two, they will be completely finished, right? But today, on this video, I'm working on, or will be working on, my Germanic tribes that I have right here. Now, I have gone through let me move this microphone because I've got it behind me. That should be better. So we're going to work on my early German or ancient German Meg army. The design is for the Hail Caesar campaign book. I'm using the Meg army list and Meg basing and Meg unit composition, all that stuff, and I'm shoehorning it in to the Hail Caesar campaign book, the Age of Caesar. So that's what I'll be working on today. Now, I have it listed as prepping the Germans. Well, I've already prepped a little bit last night. I actually took my Germans and I put them through the soap and water, scrubbed them, got all the mold release, or at least 90% of it off of these models. What I use is like water and hand soap, and then I use a painting brush, like a 1-inch painting brush. It's synthetic, so it's like super soft brush, and I use it to what do they call that when you're washing something? You agitate it. So I agitated because I keep them in bowls, right? And I've got multiple bowls, multiple figures. Soak them in water with soap, stir them, set them off to the side, let the soap kind of break the mold release down, and then I'll bring it back. What I'll do is I'll dump all that mold release and soap out of the bowl, and then I will do it again. I'll put more. I do it about 3 times, where I stir and agitate the miniatures in a bowl with hand soap and water, and then on the 3rd time I stop adding soap. I still pour it out and then add water and stir, and there's still a lot of soap residue in the bowl, and but there's less because I didn't add any soap. And then I do that about 3 or 4 times until the water stops bubbling with soap. Basically, once I do the stir and I don't see any mold release just floating around in the water, and it's like very clear, like you could almost drink it, it kind of tells me that there's no soap in the water either, because and so I pour that out and then I dry off the miniatures. What I personally do is I have a towel on my next to the sink, and then I will dump the miniatures on the towel and let them sit there for a minute or two, and then I will use part of the towel to kind of dry the figures. I'll shuffle them around. And then what I realized was I had organized all these into bags, but then once I started washing them, that went out the window. I was like, oh my gosh, I don't remember which figures were supposed to be in which group or whatever. So I went through the models, which is weird. I took all the warriors and I laid them out by pose, and then I broke them up into battle groups, and then I bagged them back up. And originally I had bagged them as 14 models per battle group, which, after doing a little bit of soul searching, I realized I didn't want 4 base warrior battle groups. I wanted 6 base warrior battle groups, because you can do them as either 4 or 6. And by looking at my Hail Caesar campaign book, I realized I probably should do this in 6 bases. So there's that. So instead of 14, there's actually 21 figures per battle group. And the reason why that is, just so you know, they're tribal flexible. So flexible meaning they have 2 base compositions. They've got a base with 4 and a base with 3. And it's supposed to be 50-50. So I did 3 bases with 4 and 3 bases with 3. Winds up being 12 plus 9, or 21. Right? Okay. Let me get my garbage bag out here. Now I've got this hand file, right, which I plan to use a lot today. And that's why I moved the camera down a little bit, so you can kind of see what I'm doing right here. Now, I went through my popsicle sticks and I mounted 8 figures, or 8, this is 3M double-sided tape, but I put 8 of them on a 6-inch stick. I think these are 6 inches. Yeah, 6-inch sticks, probably 5.9, but yeah. So I can't. I mean, sometimes I'll do like 6 for 28 millimeters, or 4 for, well, like 3 for 28 millimeter cavalry. On at this scale, I can do 4. Maybe 5, but I decided just to do 4, be a round number for my cav. Okay, so I went ahead and did that. That's going to be a lot of, this is a lot of figures, gentlemen. I need to switch glasses. That's my reading / computer gaming glasses. And this is my miniature painting / magnifying glasses. Now I have something even stronger, but these are just fine. So what we're going to do is we're going to do 2 battle groups at a time. and then I'm gonna mount them. Actually, it doesn't really matter, honestly, because all the battle groups are going to get painted together. But I just figured it would be easier to do it that way. But it doesn't really matter. But the front rank will, on some of these, will have like a standard bearer and a musician and stuff like that. But again, it doesn't matter. Okay, so before we start filing the bottoms down, I'm going to go through and I'm going to clean up just anything that needs to be clean. Now, these Germans I got from Old Glory 15 millimeter. So Old Glory 15s, their website is down until the 7th, just so you know. So don't go there thinking you're going to pick something up. But if there is something on that website that you want to get, let me know. I put orders in with them on a regular, and I can get stuff for you. Okay, so we're gonna. I'm cleaning off like flash, burrs, mold lines. But I wanted to point this out. These are the new Germans. It feels like and it looks like these molds are brand new because they're very clean. Clean molds, very little flash, and I haven't seen a mold line yet. Now there might be some downtime, dead air is what I meant. There should be some, okay. That's awesome. Didn't even have to touch that one. Like this guy here is in chainmail. I put a handful of guys with chainmail in my battle groups to serve as like a unique leader type figure in the battle groups, like the subordinate commanders. And yes, I call them battle groups. Meg doesn't really call them that. But that's only because I personally believe that Simon just wanted to be different than all the other games. And that's okay. I mean, he wanted, okay, that really had something to be cut. And the things that I'm cutting off are like the backside of the spear as it attaches to the base as a support. And sometimes the bottom of the base has a big chunk. And that's what the file is for. We're going to be filing the bottoms of the bases down so that they stand up. I really like the combat mechanics of Meg, or I wouldn't be really focusing on building these armies if I didn't, right? I still like Hail Caesar. Hail Caesar is a good game system, and I will be able to play Hail Caesar with my Meg armies in 15 millimeter. I'll just like adjust the ranges, or I won't. I'll just leave the ranges the way they are. No, I'll probably adjust them. Shrink everything down. I went to look for my hills and my wood templates in my hidden storage because that's where I put all of those, and I couldn't find them. I still have a few tubs out in the garage, which I might or might not have moved them out there because there was a period where I had stopped doing 15s. I'd stopped doing any kind of Field of Glory or Battlefront or anything like that in 15s, and I had kind of shifted over to a 28 millimeter mindset, and I stayed in the 28 millimeter mindset for a few years, and I don't know what it was, but I think it was I don't know what it was, but something brought me back to 15 millimeter. I even considered 10 millimeter. I picked up some 10 millimeter Napoleonics, and was going to do Quatre Bras in 10 millimeter using Hail Caesar as the rule set. And after I did one, I painted one unit of, no, I painted two units. I painted some Polish Lancers and some Polish Lancers and some Dutch Belgian militia. And I can tell you, they looked really good. And the size of them and the scale and everything, they weren't extremely hard to paint. So I loved them. But I had a crisis that could not be resolved. So I abandoned. Oh, okay. There's like some hidden flash in the underarm here. I had a crisis of flags. I looked all over the place for 10 millimeter flags. I found a couple of companies like Pendragon, and somebody else was selling 15 millimeter flags. I can't, or not 15, but 10 millimeter flags. But they didn't have a very large selection. They had a very small selection. And I said, okay, let's try using this 15 millimeter flag on the Dutch Belgian militia. It fit. It made the flag look really big, which I actually like. It makes the models, the pomp and circumstance of flags and the regalia and all that. It does make for a beautiful looking unit when you've got this giant flag, right? But it was a chore to get this 15 millimeter flag to fit on a 10 millimeter flag pole. And I just told myself, F it. What's the advantage? I was weighing the advantages. Like, what is the advantage of doing a 10 millimeter Napoleonic army versus just going back to what I know and doing a 15 millimeter Napoleonic army? Well, first of all, I can find literally I can find every single model that I want. I can find in 15 millimeter. 10 millimeter, not so much. I have to proxy some units. This is not an accurate example, but just hear me out. So, like I might have to take a French unit or maybe a Dutch unit or something and paint it up like a Nassau unit. And that way I can have Nassau. Which is not really true because they do make Nassau troops. But there's a number of brands. And I tried a bunch of different brands. GHQ makes some 10 millimeter Napoleonics. Pendragon. Magister Militarum or something like that. They make some 10 millimeters. So I got in a little bit of every one of those. Oh yeah, and CNC too, I think. Maybe not CNC. Who is it? It's GHQ. I don't remember, but I ordered a bunch of them. They all looked pretty good. Some were a little skinnier than others. And as you know, I like a little meat on the bones. So I said, F it, I'm going back to 15 millimeter. So I sold all those miniatures. They actually sold within a week on the website, on the eBay store. I didn't try to make money. I tried to break even. Basically just recouped my money. Okay, now I still feel like if you ever handled any miniatures made of pewter, you'll always get a little bit of powder on your fingers. That might be residue from the mold release not being 100% scrubbed off. So after handling all of those, I can now start to feel a little mold release. And the advantage for doing 10 millimeter versus doing 15 millimeter was negligible. I thought to myself, like, why would I put myself through a struggle session? Why am I putting myself through this? What advantages? Because I weigh the pros and cons and all that. Well, table space, right? Well, the difference between a 10 millimeter army and a 15 millimeter army is so negligible that I decided that the advantages weren't worth it. And one of the reasons I was planning on doing Epic, right? Epic. What was the whole thing that got me started was the Epic Waterloo box from Warlord Games, because I was big into Hail Caesar and Black Powder and Bolt Action and all that. And I said, okay, Epic is basically Black Powder just with smaller figures. Well, that's actually not accurate. And that's why I am not playing it. Ooh, let's get a sneeze. And I looked for my tissue and I noticed I don't have one. Yeah, so thanks for joining me on your 4th of July. Um, Happy Independence Day. I love me some America. I'm unapologetically patriotic. It's probably part of the reason why I went into the Army when I did. Um, Straight out of high school. A friend of mine, which not really, he really wasn't a friend. He was just somebody I talked to in class. You know, I was trying to decide what I was going to do with my life. And he said, I'm going to go in the Army. I'm going to be a ranger or whatever he said. I think he said that. And I was like, oh, okay. I never even thought about it. That sounds like a plan. And so I went in and I said, I want to be an airborne ranger, but I didn't. I didn't want to be a ranger, but I wanted to be airborne. I wanted to be a paratrooper. That was a big deal to me. And my recruiter, which I have nothing against my recruiter. He did everything that I asked him to do. He was actually trying to talk me out of certain things because I wanted to be infantry, right? And he was like, why do you want to be infantry? You've got high enough scores. You can pick any job that you want in the military. Any of them. And I was like, nope, I want to be an airborne infantryman. I want to be John Wayne. I want to fight for my country, whatever. And he's like, well, we don't have any airborne infantry positions, but we do have this typewriter repairman, and we got this truck tire changer, and this hydraulic hose repairman. I'm kidding, of course. But he goes, we've got all these other jobs that you can pick from. And I said, nope, I'll see you on the flip side. And I went back to high school, And then a couple of weeks later, I get this call from my recruiter. He said, we got 2 openings. They just popped up. And I thought of you. Yeah, because I was probably on a list. But he goes, I thought of you, and I'm offering them to you. Which one would you like? And his offer was airborne infantry in Alaska or airborne infantry in Italy. And I was like, Italy sounds good. Because I had been to Alaska. My dad was in the Coast Guard. We spent some time in Alaska, and I had no fond memories from Alaska. Believe it or not, I was young. I didn't have the opportunity to make any fond memories. I think that if I went to Alaska today, I would enjoy it. I'd have fun. I'd be able to go about my business. But then again, maybe not. I don't really know. But as a kid, I said, no, Alaska. I'll take Italy. And so off to Italy and a start of a wonderful career in the Army. And so it did not, my time in the Army did not make me hate the Army. or America or the United States or our allies or any of that. I I see good things, or did, and I also just recently had a birthday. You guys can wish me happy birthday. That's fine. I'm now 105 years old, minus a few years. Okay, right where the spear and the shield connect, there's like this little mold where the pewter got like seeped out of the spear onto the shield. That doesn't take anything. That's trimmed. It's done. So when I hear these kids, and I say kids, they're probably adults, but when I hear these kids say they hate America, I'm like, have you ever been to another country? Not just any country. Have you ever been to a third world country? I had, and I'm happy to be an American. You guys just don't know. They just don't know. I've even been to some first world countries, and I'm still happy to be American. I won the lottery. I was born in America. There are people out there that would die to be in America. And we have people bashing America, complaining about its problems. Now, don't get me wrong, we got problems. And I'm speaking of them really right now, the hate for the country. But no, we've got real problems as well. I mean, we're not perfect. No one's going to be perfect. As far as I can tell, nobody's going to be perfect. But we're not as bad as they're making us out to be. I used to have this. I was in a unit. We're not going to say names or where or whatever. But I was in a unit that had a sergeant who was kind of milk toast. He wasn't hard. He wasn't soft. He was just there, you know. He did his job. He did everything he was asked to do. He was making the Army a career. You know, as far as I could tell, he wasn't a bad dude. And then we were going to get deployed. Our unit was chosen to do a special mission. I'm not going to say what. And out of the entire base, we were the ones chosen to go do this. Live fire, live threat, foreign country activities. And this guy said, I can't go. Just came out of the blue. I can't go because I'm a conscientious objector. Well, first of all, okay. They immediately took him out of the unit. I assume, now if it was me, I would have put him on the firing squad. No, that's not true. I would not have done that. But if it was me, I would have kicked him out of the service. How can you volunteer? Because remember, this is back in the volunteer days, not even draft. This was the volunteer army. You chose this. You signed a contract. You had even re-upped. And now that someone's handing you live ammunition and asking you to pull the trigger, you quit, or you don't even quit. You just say, I can't go. That tells me, well, he was afraid, which, that's okay. You can be afraid. That's life. But he used it as an excuse not to have to go. Not the fear. He said, oh, by the way, I'm a Muslim. And my faith says I can't do that. Okay. If your faith tells you you can't do that, why are you in the army? Where's the disconnect that I've got here? Wow, that spear just broke. Okay. Better now than on the table. Come on. Spearman? Okay, maybe I didn't do enough. That guy is just giving me some grief. Okay, he stands, but then when I put him over there, he falls over. It's almost like he doesn't like those guys. Okay, enough of that guy. That's bringing me down. Because we deployed. He didn't come with us. When we returned, I don't think I ever saw him again. I don't remember. I can tell you he got tuned out of my head. I was one of the oldest guys in our unit. And there's a reason for that, but I was one of the older guys in the unit, and our CO said, I want you carrying the pig, right, which was our M60 machine gun. He goes, I want you carrying it because I trust, I know you'll do the right thing or whatever. And I took that as a huge compliment. I don't know. But the way he worded it was, I want you to carry the pig because I know back in World War I, you were familiar with the Lewis gun. And I was like, oh my gosh. And I knew what the Lewis gun was. That was pretty bad. You ask anybody else in the unit, they were like, what's a Lewis gun? What is he talking about? But he knew I could appreciate the joke. Oh, yeah. I got to tell you this story. I don't know if I've really told anybody this story. So we went to this night fire exercise, right? It was practice. We went to a Polizei range where we practiced with the local police. So, because the Polizei, I don't know if you guys know this, if it's widely known, but the Polizei are not police officers. I mean, they are, but they're more like National Guard. The Polizei are trained to be soldiers. And it was Germany's way of having a national army without officially having a standing army. It was how they got around the Accords. But either way, so we're doing this night training with these Polizei guys, and I'm the one there doing all the instructing. I'm the trainer for night fire exercises. And I get everybody together and I tell them that humans have a tendency to want to shoot high at night. So be aware of that. Maybe shoot a little bit lower than what you're probably comfortable with so that you don't shoot over their heads. You know, because that's a tendency that humans have. They want to shoot high at night for some reason. I don't know what the psychology is behind that. I just know this to be a fact. And so I bring this up, and my CO pulls me to the side, and he's like, "Kingery, that was hysterical." And I'm like, he goes, "That was funny as hell." And I was like, what did I say wrong? Or, what was it? No, he goes, "No, you're right. It's just the way you worded it. You said humans as opposed to people or everybody or, soldiers or something." He said, "You used the word humans as if there was another option." And I was like, "It's probably too much D&D." Oh my gosh. And did they hit the targets? They certainly did. We knocked them suckers down. Yeah. Luckily, being in Germany, I was able to use all different kinds of German weapons and fly in all kinds of German different aircraft and jump out of them. Yeah, I've got my German jump wings. I don't know if anybody knows that. I've got German jump wings. I actually have gold. There's the Germans have like the Olympic scale, like bronze, silver, and gold. And depending on how many jumps, the color of your badge changes, which I think is kind of a cool idea. And mine's gold. Why is mine gold? Well, by the time I got my German jump wings, which I think I still have in the garage, by the time I got my German jump wings, I think I had well over 200 jumps. Well over. By the time I ended my career, I think I was right on the verge of hitting 500 jumps. I was lucky enough to be in a unit that whenever we deployed, we would jump. We wouldn't land, get on a truck or a bus and go anywhere. No, when we flew somewhere, we didn't get out, we jumped. And then that was when I was in that Italian unit that I was mentioning. And that's where I got over 200 jumps. And then, I don't know if you know anything about the Army or whatever, but we would have these company parties, and you don't drive to the party. We didn't drive to the party with our families or whatever. The families would drive to the party, but we would go to the airfield, get on a helicopter, fly over to the party, and jump out. And when I was doing that, I didn't have a family, so I was single. But yeah, we would have, and then the helicopter would land at the party. We would have this big truck, this big flatbed truck, loaded up with nothing but parachutes. And if you wanted to, you could just walk over to the truck, grab a parachute, put it on, go over to the helicopter, and he would fly you up, and you could just jump out. And you get a few of those every couple of months. You build up your jumps, man. Because they count. It counts as a jump. And so I remember this one time we were flying up to New York, Fort Drum, which is a army base out in the backwoods of New York. And we were taking a bunch of vehicles and maintenance crew and stuff like that. They were flying, I think if I remember right, it was like a C5, or was it the smaller one? C-17? I don't remember, but it was not a C-130. So we're flying along, and the loadmaster comes up and says, "Okay, we're approaching. You guys got to get ready." And so we all get up. Everybody else is like locked into their chairs and asleep or complaining or just watching us get up out of our chairs, go over to a pallet. We undo this pallet, and it's full of parachutes. We put the parachutes on, and the nobody else is doing this. We're the only ones there doing it. There's about, what is there, like 6 of us? And we were saying things to each other like, are we going to tell them? Should we tell them, because the plane's going down, they're not going to survive? We're the only ones with parachutes? Oh my gosh, we were horrible people. But the doors would open and we would just jump out. It's like, all right, bye guys. See you on the ground. we were lunatics. We were madmen. Because the Army and the Air Force had an agreement that, and some people don't know this either. I like sharing BS, but the Army and the Air Force have this agreement. I don't know if it's still active or if the policies change or anything. I don't know. This is back in the good old days, but they had an agreement that if the Air Force flies Army personnel to a destination, the Army picks up the bill. So the Army has to pay for this. Seems reasonable. But I'm looking for the guy in chainmail. Where are you, chainmail wearing dude? Not you. Ah, here he is. So, but if the Army puts paratroopers on the flight and they jump out, and the air crew has to do like a paratrooper mission, then the Air Force takes half the bill. So whenever we were transporting stuff from point A to point B, my unit was chosen 99% of the time. My unit was chosen to fly with them and jump out. Isn't that cool? I got 1 million of these jumps, and I would say more than half of those jumps were night jumps, because I don't know, the Air Force just likes to fly people from point A to point B at nighttime. But yeah, we've been to Wisconsin and North Dakota and New York, performing those missions. Those I don't remember what they called them. There was a word for them, a joint jump or something. That was a few years ago. Okay, let's get back to miniature wargaming and get away from my military career. I could sit here, I could talk for hours. Okay, Meg. Okay, what do I? There's a few things I want to talk about. Bases, right? Let's talk about bases. Okay, I went through the rules um, to try to determine if having a 20 millimeter base is, as opposed to a 15 millimeter base for my heavy infantry, if it really makes a difference. And the answer is no, not really. It doesn't make a difference. But even though it doesn't make a difference, I'm still going to rebase my Romans. I've decided I'm going to be universal. I'm going to do it the way the book says. I want to be semi-official or whatever. But part of the reason why is width determines, like, oh, Did I not clean this sword up? Maybe not. Might have overlooked this sword. Oh, goodness. There's some, yeah. Yeah, so I'm gonna rebase my Romans. I've decided to get away from the 15 millimeter concept and go with the 20 millimeter basing method for all the infantry. I was going to use 30 millimeter for mobs, and I decided not to bother. Just do it. Just be official. And one of the reasons why I thought that it might be better to do that was because there is a base width of 40s, but depth does play a part of the game. It's just very subtle, and it's a hidden effect of in the game, and that is really. Wait, okay, here's one more. And that depth does. Yeah, let's just put him on there. Take up table space. It doesn't. And when you flank, I was thinking this. I was like, okay, when I flank and I reorganize my troops where they lined up perfectly on the flank of an enemy, and there's two bases I'm contacted with, both 15 millimeter. If there was a third base, I would just have to identify that they're not in base-to-base contact, but they are on the table, and I didn't want to do that. I don't think it really matters officially or mechanically, but having the Romans like two bases deep will make them exactly square, right? Because you'll have the 40 millimeter in the front and then two 20s or 40 millimeters to the back. And I think that alone will make the Romans look pretty cool, having their legions move around as blocks. Well, there's 40, and because there is 42, there's the extra 2. But we're going to put them, we're going to start another base. And this is where I was saying it doesn't really matter, because after I get them all painted, at that point I'll go through and figure out who's on first. what's on second, and I don't know who's on third. So I'm really excited about playing a game of Meg, but not your traditional tournament style, sit down, um, two players pick armies, design with an army list, and then go at it. I don't enjoy games like that. I like scenarios. Or a campaign where, wait, I put it up here. Or a campaign where um, you can purchase an army at the beginning and then maybe move around on a strategic map or something. That'd be fun. And then if there's contact, then there's battles. But I would prefer to play a game like, hey, we're gonna do Granicus, or we're doing um, Hannibal, or we're gonna do the Teutoburg Forest, or whatever. And that's why I'm doing these Germans, is because they fit nice and neatly into Age of Caesar campaign book, which is really not a campaign. It is, but what it is just a series of scenarios, and you can just play them in order or whatever. Now I know one of the last battles is Roman on Roman. And I'm also thinking about expanding my Roman army, but using Marian Romans. Because I have a pretty good amount of Republican Romans already finished. I could field that as an army, but it's not enough for the scenarios. It's about 2/3 of the scenarios. That's good. So instead of adding more Principes and Hastati and Triarii and Velites and stuff like that, instead of adding more of those, which I really don't need to add more of those, I just need Principes and Hastati. So instead of adding Principes and Hastati, I think I'm going to get some Marian late Republican Romans, which they pretty much look almost exactly like Principes anyway. The main difference is the plume on their head. I don't know. I don't know what I want to do because I already have a bunch of Republican Romans. Okay. Let's set him off to the side so I can find him. Chainmail. Okay, this one has a horn and a standard. Yeah, because I only had 8 horns, and there's 10 of those units that need to be done. So a couple of them don't have horns. Same thing with standards. They just don't have any standards. No, I got like 2 command packs, so they come with like 4 standards. So that's a total of 8. But like I said, I need 10 units. So, so there. Yeah, so I was struggling for a couple of weeks actually with which army list I was supposed to be using in Meg. Um, and with Vercingetorix and all those guys. So I wasn't sure if I was supposed to be using the Gaelic list or the German list. Because the Germans are Gaelic, and the Gaelic uh, could be German. There's a number of different tribes, and they're all pretty much the same. They just have a couple of different. There's a few different stats. Like the Gaelic have Gestati. Yeah, Gestati, which are, I think, naked fanatics. Um, the Hail Caesar campaign book does call one of the units naked fanatics. So I was thinking, oh man, I need to be using the lowland army list. But Hail Caesar also has something called the Guard, or the King's Guard, or the Chieftain's Guard, or something like that, where the Gaelic army list has something called the soldiery, which are basically the King's Guard. They're basically the best troops. And the army list has a limitation that says if you can't have both. You can only have Gestati or Solduri. You cannot have both. Which I understand from an army list point of view, but on the scenario I can do whatever I want. Because my understanding is they're like 3 different tribes coming together. Whoops. I'm putting those guys in the wrong place. Yeah, they're like 3 different tribes coming together. So one of them can have nakeds, and one of them can have solduri, which I think that's how I'm going to do it, but I don't know. So this army that I'm putting together has 2 of the household guards, the nobles is what they're called, because I'm putting together a German army, and you're only allowed to have one noble per contingent, is what it says. So if I'm going to have 3 tribes on the table representing 3 different tribes, I don't see why I couldn't have one in each of the tribes. But it doesn't matter. I'm just putting them together and getting it all ready. If I need to do some naked fanatics in the future, then that's what I'll do. So Litco. I went to Litco and I decided to order some 40 by 20 bases. I have a bunch of 40 by 20 bases. I have probably 200, right? Yeah, 200 bases maybe. But they're of the thin type. They're like super thin. And I also have some that are 3 millimeters. Those are way too thick. Those would be great for like 28 millimeter skirmishers, and that's what I used for my Napoleonics. The Voltigeurs and stuff like that. I used the real thick 3 millimeter thick 40 by 20s. And then I switched to a 40 by 20 with a magnet on the bottom, which actually is pretty thick. It winds up being about 3 millimeters thick, which is the same as all the infantry. So they would actually kind of sit side by side and look pretty good. Oh yeah, I still have to file it. But my point is, I want to do these ancient armies in the middle thickness, which I think is like 1.8 or 1.5, because the thin is only 0.8. Okay, there's another musician. Okay. Oh, I don't know why I just did that. I trimmed the bottom of the base. I got excited. Okay, another guy in chainmail. That's good. Two musicians, 2 chainmail. I wonder if I've got 2 standards. Nope, I don't see it. Okay, so one of them will have a standard, one won't. So then I went and I decided, okay, how many bases do I need for this German army? Right? Just bear with me. 10 units of warriors with 6 bases each. Well, that's 60 just for the warriors. Three units of 4 skirmishers. Another 12. 2 units, okay, what is that, 72? 2 units of nobles four bases each. That's 8. That's 72. That's 80. And if I decide to do the families or the archers, because they've got archers as well, if I decide to use the Gestati, the Nakeds, I could go over 80 bases. Right? 80, maybe closer to 90 bases, maybe more. That's not counting the cavalry, the generals. So in summary, to myself, I said, okay, that's about 100 bases. It's not 100, it's closer to 90, but I said, okay, it's about 100. And remember, I'm going to be, and that's with this, but not all armies are going to be this big. I understand that. But just to be safe, I said, okay, I'll need 100 bases per army, which is not really true. It's probably closer to 70 or 80 bases. Like the rules recommend 20 units, but 20, maximum, but 20 units at 6 bases apiece, or even, 4 to 6, that's about 100. So I just said, okay, every army is going to need about 100 bases. How many armies am I actually in the process of doing? And I forgot about the French. I forgot about the French. So I have Burgundians and English. That's 2. Medievals, that is. I have Germans and Romans. That's 2 more, so that's 4. Macedonians, Carthaginians, that's 2 more, that's 6. English and, okay, wait, let me make sure I'm counting these right. English, Burgundian, Roman, German, Macedonian, Carthaginian, 6. So I'm thinking I have 6 armies that I'm currently working on. So I ordered, I think, 5 packs. Which, 500 miniatures, 500 bases. And that should do me. I probably should have ordered one more just as a buffer. And those 20 units doesn't count the cavalry. Or it does count the cavalry, which is what I'm talking about. It does count the cavalry. So I'm thinking that if you got a bunch of cavalry, you're not going to need 100 bases. So that's what I was thinking why I ordered only 5 instead of 6, because I was thinking the cavalry would make up for the 6th Army. Plus, I already have a handful, maybe about 20 bases already. In that thickness. So I ordered those. Those will probably come in a couple of weeks. That's fine. That's not gonna. But I also was looking for range rulers. As you know, I've already made some range rulers of my own for moving and wheeling and shooting and all that in the 40 millimeter base width ranges. But I knew that Litco made some range measurement tools in plastic, acrylic, or whatever you call it. And I checked to see if they had anything for Meg. They do not. They do not have Meg. But they do have DBA 3rd edition range rulers. Which come in, well, they have two ways you could get it. You could get it in a tool, or you could get it in sticks. The tool has a side that has 1 base width. It has a side that has 2 base widths. It has a side that has 3 base widths. And another side that has, I think, 5. Yeah, there's no 4. It's like 1, 2, 3, 5. Which is fine. But that's as big as it is. Or it might be 6. It might be 6. And 6 base widths is probably all you'll ever need. But if I'm playing with longbows or crossbows or catapults and ballista, I need something bigger. Well, that's why I have my own personal range rulers for those long range shots. But just as a tool for a player to have in their possession, I think one of those DBA tools would work just fine for measuring. But the DBA tool is like $20. And I said to myself, nope. I'm not paying $20 for that. It'd be awesome. But mainly I was wanting one for every player. So if we were having a 6-player game, which is kind of what I'm aiming for, like 3 tribes of Germans and 3 legions of Romans. Now in Meg, my understanding is that like each tug is a legion or represents a legion. But I'm basically going to scale that back. It's going to basically be like 5 tugs, you know, is going to be a legion in these battles. And then like 5 tugs of Germanics is going to be a tribe. If all that makes sense. All right. So, something else I wanted to talk about. Oh, games, not games. Yeah, games workshop, 40K and all that. Just got wind that they introduced the new Epic rules. They're not calling it Epic. They're calling it like Imperialis Titanicus or something like that. But that's just their fanciful way of saying epic. Because even on the box it says an epic scale of Warhammer 40K. They're just not calling it Warhammer Epic. And it's going to come with a Titan and a couple of Titans and some Imperial Guard and some Space Marines. But the models are big. They're not 6mm like the old Epic. They're more like 8mm. So they're not even 10s. They're like their own scale, which is fine because Warhammer's always been proprietary. Like if you go to any of their tournaments or anything like that, it has to be their models. It has to be all their stuff. But I don't like the way they switched. Well, I'm not going to say I don't like it. It's just different because they switched the way they're doing the bases. They're not like by squad or like, I don't know. They're more like mobs. It looks like it comes in line with their new 40K rules where everything is larger and more of a mob and less of an army. But my final thought about that is I don't care because I don't play 40K. I used to. I had an Ultramarine army. And I'm going to be honest and say I never really enjoyed 40K. I painted, I assembled and put together armies because I used to own a retail store and I sold Warhammer. And I hosted tournaments, Rogue Trader events, stuff like that. And that was the only reason. If I was to open another store, I don't even know if I would carry it anymore. I think I would carry a lot of historicals, my focus being on historicals. And I would still paint and sell, online. To make up for the loss in sales of not carrying the fanboy game. But at least people would know, hey, if you're looking for historicals, go to this store. If you're looking for fantasy, go to this store. Now, would I have like fantasy armies? Absolutely. Would I have sci-fi miniatures? Yeah, absolutely. Just not Games Workshop. Now, if you guys are only watching me here and you don't watch my other videos, got a couple of pieces of news that hit me this week. That's really cool. Victrix, a company that I do business with, has changed their policy for their partners. There's now no minimum order. So if I need to order just 2 bags of Romans, I can do that. Where in the past, I would have to put over $1,000 order in, which limited how often I could put that order in. Also, I sent an email to Wargames Atlantic because their website says that the units that they were waiting for is in stock, which was the Sentries and the SAS. Boy, this is going to be an all-day process. But hey, I'm up for it. All right. 2 more closer to closer to the 10 warriors. Okay, this is in the way. Whoops. Like flew out of my hands. Okay, those are all the command Now when I get to my 2 extra guys, I'm going to put them on that one right there. So that sticker is going to be, or that popsicle stick is going to be extra guys. The overflow. Again, it won't matter because it doesn't really matter where I put them, because once they're all painted, I'm going to reorganize them again anyway. I'm under no illusions. These aren't exactly the units that they're going in. But I'm trying to put like all of the same pose together so that when I vary my tunics and jackets and pants and stuff like that, I'll be able to do it on one stick. I'll be like, this guy's got red, this guy's got blue, this guy's got yellow, all the way down the line. Wow, okay, that whole stick is all exactly the same. So we're going to be priming these brown. Not white, not gray, not black, but brown. Brown is a really good color for medieval or ancient armies. Most of your colors will go on top of brown very well. There's one more throwing. That probably won't happen until maybe tonight. Be off camera, of course. Now, I considered only doing half of these because I hate doing 100 models at one time. But just these battle groups, 10 battle groups, 21 figures per battle group, that's 210 figures just for the main warrior battle groups, not counting the nobles or the cav or the skirmishers. I'm not exactly sure exactly how many miniatures it's going to be, but I considered doing half at a time just because of my mental health. But then I thought about it and I said, nah, let's do it all at once. Because these guys are going to be really easy to paint. Boots, pants, jacket, flesh, weapons, shields, done. Right? It's not like a 28 millimeter model where I got to really get in there. Okay. And this should be 3 warbands of javelins. Javelins are only going to have 8 figures per unit. Now I noticed that most of these javelin slingers don't have a shirt on. They've got pants. Uh, and this guy's even got like a cape, a tunic or whatever, but no shirt. Oh damn, this guy's got no pants. He just has a loincloth. So those guys should be fairly easy to paint. You would think, right? They don't really have any mold lines or burrs, but every now and then they do have a little bit of a flash that sticks out. Yeah, no pants, no shoes, just a loincloth and a cape. Yeah, this is a different mold. Are they all like that? I thought this guy had a pair of pants. Hang on just a second. Yeah, this guy looks like he's wearing pants and he has shoes on. But these three different, they're all naked. Yep, this guy's got pants. Their hair is pulled up into like a top knot. Keep it out of the way so when they throw their javelin. So, what is that? 24 models? Eight times 4? That was probably better for a clipper. There was a lot of pewter there. Yeah, prepping your models, it seems like that's the longest process. It's like longer than actually painting them. Well, these guys anyway, these javelin throwers I'll probably have done in no time. But I'm not painting them on an island. They're going to get painted at the same time everybody else gets painted. So just because they're 90% flesh doesn't mean I will finish them first. Actually, I might finish them first. They might get knocked out in no time. Okay, that guy definitely has pants on. Okay, this needs a little work. Give me a second. Okay. Now, when I get these Meg armies done, uh, now as you know, I am making a Meg boot camp, right? But when I get these Meg armies done, I think I might do some solitaire play. Uh, Using the cards and the dice and getting some battles. Battle reports or whatever you call them. Oh, my fingers. So computer games, right? Looking forward to Starfield. That's coming out soon, end of next month. Yeah, end of next month. Officially, it's September 6th. But I'll probably be playing it before that. Just so you know. But I'm looking forward to that game. Um, I haven't played much Skyrim in the last couple of weeks. I told my Skyrim followers that it would be the upload of videos is going to be a lot slower. Mainly because I had a big shipment of miniatures and then I was filming what's in the boxes. And now my attention has kind of shifted a little bit. I've already filmed 99% of the what's in the boxes, but my attention has shifted a little bit to my ancients, away from my World War II guys. And I'm doing a boot camp for Meg. Okay. Let's get these guys going. the troop. I'm playing the troop. I had played a mission called Hot Work. It's not uploaded yet. I had played it, got about halfway through it, and then the game stopped working. I mean, I could do certain things, like some units could move, some units could shoot, but not, but basically some units were locked or something like this. And so I played it like 2 times, recording it, and then getting frustrated because they would lock up at the same time. So I'd be like, well, crap. So I played it a third time, and I just said, okay, I'm going to record this, but I'm not going to have any commentary or anything like that. I'm just going to play and see how far I can get. And I was able to finish it. So, that mission. So I have recorded the troop scenario, but it has no commentary. So when I go to edit it and render it, I think I'm going to add some commentary, but it would all be from memory. So I'll have to say that on the video, like, something like, hey guys, I tried playing this 3 times. This is the third attempt. There's no commentary, but I'll watch, I'll edit it with you, and we'll watch it together, and I'll try to give you my thought process of why I did certain things, if I can remember it. So I used to really enjoy superhero MMOs, like DC Universe or Champions Online or City of Heroes. And City of Heroes has always been my go-to MMO until they closed down. But Champions and DC are pretty much run by the same studio. The art style and everything's almost exactly the same. Champions is a pen and paper role playing game that I played in the 90s. And that's where the name Mr. Everything comes from. It comes from Champions. I made a character in Champions that had every power. Whoa, these legs just crumpled. Hang on, what's going on? Okay, it didn't break, but his legs kind of just buckled under the weight of me. Okay, leave him alone. Normally when I do these, I go, parallel to the way the legs are. But on that guy, I went perpendicular, and it reminded me why I go parallel. Old Glory has this thing called bulk bases. I actually ordered a pack of bulk bases. Now, if they're the metal bases, which I have a feeling they're going to be, then I'll probably be a little bit disappointed. I love the metal bases, but I'm not looking for any more metal bases. But I figured, why not? Let's order a pack, see what I get. If it's MDF or if it's plywood, I'll be overjoyed. I'm just curious on how thick it is and what material it's made out of. A big advantage of metal bases is that you can put a magnet on the bottom of your carrying case. And when you put your units in, they won't go anywhere. So I like it. But metal bases are just too thin. That's why I'm not doing the thin Litkos, because it's just too thin. When your units are moving as a formation, you want the bases to be able to butt up against each other. But when they're too thin, they tend to overlap, and I can't take it. One. Okay. Now each of these is basically a unit because it's 4 bases of 2. Because remember, they're skirmishers, and skirmishers are based 2 figures per base. What was I talking about? Oh, MMOs. Yeah. I haven't really played an MMO in a while. Any MMO. I used to really dig them. You know, because you can meet people and become friends and have like a guild and go on raids together and stuff like that. Lately, I've just been into my own thing, my own single player games. But I saw a video, and this is why I'm bringing this up. I saw a video where a guy recapped what was good about City of Heroes. And then he did another video, which is what was good about DC Heroes. And it kind of got my juices flowing for maybe rejoining one of these MMOs. You know, just for fun. But then I was thinking, I don't know. I mean, I could make a list of MMOs that I've played. Okay, those are the 3 Javelin units. Each stick is its own unit. Um, Lord of the Rings. Never played, well, that's not true. I was going to say I never played World of Warcraft, but I actually did play about 1 week. I got bored. Didn't like it. All right, guys. Well, that's it for today. I know I've been on here for a couple hours now. I still have a lot more to do, but I'm not going to keep it live with you guys. I think I'm going to wash my hands, maybe play a computer game, and then get back to this a little bit later. All right, guys. I'll catch you in the next one.